if it's going to cost you more money because you didn't plan, then invest in time and planning. And then the other area is when your animals are involved, because those are the two areas that you really can lose a lot of traction. This is the Homesteading for Beginners podcast, and I'm Mona Weathers, your homesteading mentor and coach. I'm here to encourage you to pursue your homesteading dreams with the right mindset in a way that is healthy for you, your family, and your community. If you desire to establish a solid foundation for your homesteading journey, then you are in the right place. Join me as I share stories from the past 20 years of my own journey, as well as practical and actionable steps you can take to start and maintain a healthy homestead. Welcome to episode 11 of the podcast. I am so glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about planning to jump in. Plan to jump in. Now, I'm a big planner, but I also am an action taker. So I want to share some of the things that I have done over the years that have caused me to have this mindset of planning to jump in. I feel like there's this answer that a lot of people will give you if you're asking them, how do you start a journey? So let's say someone's asking, how do you start homesteading? And the answer ends up being, well, just get started. Just start somewhere. And I get the meaning behind it. I understand the intention behind it is just like, don't let it be in your head and just get started somewhere. But I also think there's a better approach, and the approach will prevent some of the overwhelm or some of the mistakes, the big mistakes that new people make, by just planning a little bit before you jump in. I think that's going to be my message, like the t-shirt, like the Just Do It t-shirt. I'm going to have a plan to jump in t-shirt or something, because I think there's a good balance between the two. Like, don't let it become so much that you're planning so long that you don't do anything, but also don't just jump in without being aware of some of the things that can happen. I see this a lot happening with animals, because it's for some people who maybe have not had the experience with certain animals. They get them thinking, well, everybody has them. Everybody has been doing this for years. It shouldn't be that hard. But then you end up getting them, and your structure, your animal enclosure isn't safe enough, and the first night you have it, predators eat all your chickens, let's say. That actually happened to us, but not all of them, but a few of them got taken by a predator because we didn't understand some of the ways the predators in our area attacked, and they attacked from above, and we didn't realize that. So my whole point is that it is okay in some areas to be very plan oriented. Like, two of the areas I believe you should always plan is in preventing from wasting money. Like, if it's going to cost you more money because you didn't plan, then invest in time and planning. And then the other area is when your animals are involved, because those are the two areas that you really can lose a lot of traction. You can lose a lot of momentum if you don't take time to plan ahead and you don't do your research. So that is the first step to planning, is doing your research. So in the case of the chickens, you really want to do your research if you're acquiring an animal. So let's say this also, helps with not wasting money as well, because it costs money, especially if you're getting the cute little chicks from Tractor Supply. They're only a couple bucks each, but then you raise them for 6 months. You spent that money in their keeping them warm and safe, and you've gotten some enclosures, some brooders, equipment, and then you raise them until they're ready to go out. And then, 6 months, you're ready. You think you're ready for eggs, but you end up having dead chickens because you didn't do something. So the idea is that you plan well enough, that you've done enough research that you know how to care for your animals. On the other side of this, someone might want to plan or research so much that they are trying, to know all there is about chickens before they get them. That's this point when you have to say, okay, I know enough to get started. I can't prevent everything. And then you jump into your journey into chicken ownership. So it's kind of like you just kind of have to know the balance of between how much you need to plan. Just have the basics down. There's lots of resources out there. Chickens is an easy one, actually. Once you get to like dairy animals, there's a lot more involvement. So you really want to do more research for that. So after you've done enough research to know the basics of the animal, then that is when I think that is a perfect time to jump into chicken ownership or whatever it is, the animal that you want. Just having enough knowledge to make some basic decisions for your animals and to know how to keep them safe. This may sound like a no-brainer for some people, but this happens all the time, especially with chickens, because they're so easy. Chickens and ducklings, they're so easy to get from the store. So people just buy them and think that, they'll figure it out as they go, but they grow really fast and they need heat when they're young. I recently had somebody reach out to me asking me if I wanted their chicks. She didn't know what to do. They looked like they were dying, and we discovered that she had no light for them. She had no way to keep them warm, and they ended up dying. So it's really, really sad when this happens, and it's an easy preventable thing just by doing enough research to own an animal. When you're talking about a life that could die because of your neglect, it's really important to not just jump into that area. Another area we don't want to just jump into is when the possibility of you wasting money. And that is kind of a hard one because you're going to waste money just by being new to your homesteading journey. You're going to waste money at some point. But if you can just plan a little bit ahead, like with the chickens, having the knowledge of having the enclosure ready for the animal so that it doesn't get taken by predators, that's just one way. There are other things that you can prevent as well. A big one would be choosing property. A lot of times this is actually the first place people feel they're starting their journey. They buy a piece of land, a piece of raw land, or a house with land, and they didn't quite think it through enough to know whether it actually will be a good property to have a homestead on. You can homestead from anywhere. Yes, I preach that all the time. But there are certain properties that are just better for having a garden, and there are certain properties that are better for having animals. Our property in particular is not the most ideal for some of that because we don't have open areas for garden space. We have small little open areas, and for what we need, it'll be just fine. But we did do our research, and we knew from experience what we wanted, but the only problem we had was the area that we wanted to live there wasn't anything else available. So we had to make do with what was available in our price range. The whole reason I created the Homesteading for Beginners checklist was kind of to prevent some of this spontaneous, non-planning, just jumping in, not thinking things through kind of experience. I wanted to help prevent that for some people. Also, I wanted to have an answer for people who are asking me, how do you get started homesteading? And I didn't want to have to say, oh, you just get started. I just thought that was a very unhelpful answer. And so I created that checklist. And so if you want that, I have a link for it in the show notes. And then just make sure you listen to episodes 1 through 5, because I go through how to use that checklist in episodes 1 through 5. Another way to know whether you are ready to jump into, if you've done enough research, you've done enough planning to jump into your journey, is to have a community that can help you talk through things, a community that will help you understand what, if they're ahead of you in an area, you can ask questions. As you may have already noticed from some of my past episodes, I really believe in community. But as I've said before, online communities are wonderful, especially for people just coming, moving to a new area. They don't know anybody like us. And finding that online community is great. And just so happens I have an online community ready for you to join. It is my SageSpot community. I've talked about this in past episodes. Well, it is ready. We are ready. We had the first launch party in a live stream inside of SageSpot. It was a lot of fun. I'm sorry I didn't get this information on my podcast before the launch party, but it was kind of like I just had to jump in. I had planned to get to this point, and I had to jump in and create the launch party. It was a lot of fun. We gave away a book. I got to know some of the members that have joined. I got to hear some of their desires and dreams for their homesteading journey. This community is for beginners. So especially if you are like in the dreaming stages of homesteading, or if you are, all the way to a few years into your journey, this would be helpful. But we will be having, we'll be going through the Homesteading for Beginners workbook as well. The workbook is a little bit more in depth, as I've mentioned in past episodes, than the checklist. The community is also called Homesteading for Beginners, and it's in a new platform called SageSpot. And the nice thing is that we do the live streams within the SageSpot itself. It's not an outside live stream, but it's set up like a Zoom call, so you can come up and ask questions. You can, have just audio if you'd like, or you can have audio and video and that sort of thing. So we're going to have a lot of great things going on in this community, and you will have access to 1 free month. So if you are not already in the community, you can get 1 free month. There will be a link in the show notes, and it will include a form for you to fill out, and then you'll be sent an email with the link to my SageSpot community plus the access code. So within this community, I will be there to coach you and help you make these decisions that we're talking about, knowing whether you're ready to jump in, if you've done enough planning to jump in to the next part of your journey. We're going to take things step by step. So my job will be to get you to the next step. And then as you proceed to the next step, we'll take another step. It is not this journey just is about a bunch of little steps. And that is what all journeys really are. And I just want to help you break it down and figure out what it is that you actually want, how to get what you want, how to get what you dream of, or how to discover what it is that you really want. Because sometimes we think we want one thing and then we realize that was not the case. So that just takes talking through things, and that's what the community is about. So I highly encourage you to fill out that form and get your email with the access code. I'm also taking the first 25 people who confirm that they want to continue on with the community to be the founding members. I mentioned the founding members before, but with this free access code, now I just need commitment verbally or something that they want to be you want to be a part of those founding members. The founding members will get the ability to have the price of the membership be $10 for life. So I've mentioned in the past that I'm creating this community with the idea that you will graduate basically, and you can go on because you won't be a beginner forever. But if you really are in need of that community and you feel like you need that community for a long time, get on the founding members list, and you will be able to have that low price of $10 a month. And we will have guest speakers as well. There's a lot of things that I know about homesteading and can teach, but there's other things that I don't know. And so we'll bring in guest speakers to help. But as a community, we'll kind of decide what will be next in that way. But the first thing that we're going to be going through is the Homesteading for Beginners workbook, which you get for free by joining. So even with the free access code, you get the workbook for free. So I hope you are ready to plan to jump in to whatever it is that you want to do next in your journey. If that's raising a certain animal, starting a garden, buying a piece of property, whatever it is, plan to jump in. If you are enjoying this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you would take a minute to subscribe or follow. By doing this, you will be helping the podcast to be seen by more people, and I do love reading nice reviews too. Don't forget to visit healthyhomesteading.com for more information on how I can serve you. Until next week, I want you to keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep planning for your homesteading success.